to production. That was a good idea. And what is happening now? Bringing this excise duty adjustment, the income tax, and then another one, they have given it some technical names.
Growth and sustainability.
Very good, growth and sustainability. I don't know what growth they are talking about, because if you tax investors out of business, how do you generate revenue to run this country? So what we are not against taxes, but the way they are doing it is not right. Look, AGI petitioned the speaker. They wrote about 7-page petition, and they analyzed the situation. They were even saying that, look, Parliament Finance Committee, why don't you engage us? Because they have very, very good proposals here. Nobody is against, because the country must run. So if we are bringing this for us to, go with it, why don't you involve us? The critical stakeholders, like AGI, Association of Ghana Industries, they have written this. Then, followed by GUTA, then Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, even importers and exporters. Then GFR, we represent workers. So we are scared that if we are not very careful and industry crumbles, we've lost our jobs. Because our employers raised these issues, already they have started laying off. So if these taxes are not managed well, eventually either they relocate or, reduce the workforce, creating unemployment, that sort of thing. So GFR coming in, we wrote the petition on the 3rd of February, thinking that, the committees handling these financial things will engage us. If not we, the workers, what about the industry owners themselves? This didn't happen. As we speak, tomorrow, GUTA is organizing a press conference. See, we don't want these kind of things. GUTA is organizing a press conference, and we are all being invited to participate. This is not good for this country. And we think that engagement is better for the economic growth. So these issues is not about MVP, NDC. That's why when I saw Comrade this thing, I said, hey, is this MVP, NDC matter? Or MVP versus workers? We think that we should all brainstorm, think aloud, and see how best we can move this country forward.
Right. So you're afraid of the impact that the extra costs would be and the burden it would place on businesses, and you feel that the necessary consultations were not made ahead of passing the bill.
That is true.
We'll put those questions to Alfred. Is it something that you are aware happened or did not happen? When Mr. Koomson talks about these consultations, they are the ones who will be directly affected, and they feel that their voices should have been heard.
I'll say good morning to you once again, and to Mr. Koomson, and to all those who are viewing and listening to us all across the world. First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to the parliamentarians who stood the grounds, and to Speaker Abang Bagbin for making these bills or these bills a reality. It was a necessity at this point in time.
Was it?
As you know, MPP has always been against taxes, and we've always stated that we don't believe in a tax system where you're always taxing the people, but we believe in the productivity of the nation. When we came into government in 2017, you realized that we took so many taxes off the books, but it's become a necessity, because when you look out at the world, everywhere the economic crunch is going on, and it's affecting everything. Now, which comes first? Is it the egg or the hen? Because at the moment, we need to revamp the economy. We need to make sure that the economy comes back to its normalcy. And where we are, we all feel the pain and the pinch that is going on. But we need to put certain things in place. We need to make sure that businesses that he seems that they are going to go down, would sustain. When you look at the Growth and Sustainability Amendment Bill, for example,
what's that meant to do?
That is supposed to tax the profit before tax of the what do you call it, the multinationals or the big or huge companies that repatriate their profit out of the country most of the time.
So what category of businesses are you looking at?
It's all stated in it. Whilst we are going on, I'll bring some more. So it tells you that it's not as if you are running the business down, but when the business has made a profit, that is where the profits that would be repatriated more or less, that is where you have to tax them and use it to run your system, where you bring the lower or the smaller businesses back to base. Because you might say that, okay, I'm not going to tax these big companies or the companies that have made excess profit and everything. Let's leave it to run, and then the smaller companies will be shrinked out. What happens to your people? It's about the people first. And that is what we are looking at, to make sure that we bring the Ghanaian economy back to base. We bring it back to the level that it needs to be on. And that is why we are looking at all these things, all encompassing everything. Talking about consultation. Consultation is ongoing. It's not a one-day affair. Even after the president has assented and everything, we still consult. Working with people, and once you are working with people, it's an ongoing thing. You don't use one day to say, okay, I've met you today, I'm done with you, and that is it. Even when we are taking taxes off, we consult. So it tells you that consultation is an ongoing process that would not stop today and it will not stop tomorrow. Mr. Koomson, I can allay your fears that definitely there will be meetings upon meetings. There will be ongoing things, discussions that would explain some of these pointers that we need to explain to you. And we are doing this in the interest of the nation. Because we can say that, okay, let the nation run as it is. Everywhere there's the crunch going on, we are minded of the fact that, okay, we don't want businesses to say that, oh, because we want to repatriate our profits and everything, especially their mines and everything, then let's leave things as they are. And then the economy will come to a halt, especially small businesses will close down. As you are saying, businesses are trying to lay off. You realize that during the COVID era, we are trying to refund by giving funding to them to make sure that they run and they continue operations. So these are things that we are not going to relent our effort on to make sure that the economy crumbles, but to come to the place where we feel it's a threshold, then some of these taxes can now be shared off one after another.
Mr. Koomson appears to have a reaction to some of the things that you've said.
Look, I have been working with the industry since 1981. I have done this training work for about 42 years. And we understand the system very well when it comes to these kind of challenges that we are facing. You see, trust, truthfulness is very good. Now, if you are giving your child a bitter medication, you have to let the child know that in your own interest, if you don't take this medicine, you will not recover.
Isn't that what government is doing?
Oh, but he hasn't spoken to it. If you are giving that bitter thing, the child can vomit it out. If the child does not understand why you are giving him such a bitter medicine, if it enters the mouth, you just pour it up. So what we are saying is that engagement, now the law, the parliament has passed the law. It's for the president to endorse it. All we are doing is to appeal for the president we are appealing to the president to hold on. If my brother is saying that consultation, then they shouldn't implement it now. President should hold on and engage. Look, you see, managing and what happened in Britain. Kuku Katin made a little mistake. He messed up small. What happened to him? And even his own prime minister. So over there, you don't joke with some of these things. If I know that at a point, the MPs, about 90-something or 80-something of them, raise issues about the competence of the finance minister. It's a fact. Why did they do that? They even threatened not to participate in the discussion of the budget. What happened? We also know that Subin MP, said that, look, the finance minister came to us in parliament, lobbied us, pleaded and appealed that we should pass the e-levy and then property tax for him. And when that is done, that is it. There's no way they're going to go to IMF. Dr. Kuma, the deputy finance minister, in parliament, not in any political platform, he said there's no way we're not going to go to IMF today, tomorrow, forever. And the minister himself confirmed it at another forum that yes, that's what his deputy has said. There's no way this government will go to IMF. We have the capacity. We are what country? We are in what he used some terms, and that there's no way they are going to go to IMF. You see, I hate people who lie. I mean, if you are my friend and you are a liar, I don't trust you. Forget it. Take your path. Also move my so that, because such people, they can be very dangerous when you don't trust.
Who is lying in this instance?
Come again.
Who is lying in this instance, do you think?
Oh, I would say government. The finance minister, why is it that his own MPs rose up against him? No, you see, we're not joking. We must be very serious. No finance minister anywhere in the world will be made to remain in office and continue to do what he's doing. We all know the MPs said that the man is not competent. He must be removed. They were putting pressure on the president. So why now you agree? You have given him e-levy, work with it, what the property tax. Then you are adding more. How is he going to handle it?
Well,
you are destroying industry.
The finance minister is not at this table, and on the grounds of fairness, we should give him an opportunity to return. But his colleague is here. We'll be going to Honorable Ricketts Hagan on the Zoom line very shortly. But quickly, is the finance minister lying to Ghanaians? Is government lying to Ghanaians?
He's not lying to Ghanaians, and I wouldn't doubt his competency any day. As I sit here, as I've traveled around, I've seen some of the problems going around in this world. I've visited nations, and you see, when my brother becomes emotional about some of these things and use words like lies and you can't be trusted and everything, I wonder that we are sitting in this country when we heard about the collapse of the running down of two banks in the States, and we know what happened to it. There are economic issues. Would we say it's the finance minister's fault here? Was the exchequer there sacked because of that? So let us not become emotional about some of these things. Let us, when there is turmoil, that is where you relax and you behave like a lion. If you know how the lion operates, when they strike and they see that, no, I cannot get it this time, they recoil, sit down, re-strategize before they move out. And that is exactly what we are doing. We are looking at what we can do to make sure that we bring the economy back on its right footing. Right. It's not about being personal with people and saying that because some people did not understand a particular situation, so because of that, yes, it's the minister's fault.
Okay. I don't doubt we'll come to understanding the issues, as you've mentioned, Alfred, and what efforts were put into making sure that people understood the bills before they went through Parliament. But the Honourable Ricketts Hagan has joined us on our Zoom platform. Good morning, MP for Cape Coast South. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Chama.
The concern is that for at least persons like Mr. Koomson, your side appears to have let the team down when it comes to ensuring that even beyond consultations, even beyond committee stage of discussions, once the bills to the Parliament, the expectation was that the minority would stand its ground and let it not go through. That did not happen on Friday.
Yes, good morning again, and good morning to Mr. Koomson in your studio, and to my brother Alfred, and good morning to your viewers.
Well, good morning.
Yes. I don't think Mr. Coomson should be disappointed with the minority. At the end of the day, we registered what our numerical strength could do, and that is we are 136, in the chamber, and all 136 of us, unlike what happened the previous Friday, all 136 of us basically voted against these bills, and that is all that we could do. It shows clearly that we were 100% against the bill. Of course, they registered one more member than us, and that carried the day for them.
What efforts or what attempts did you make at the discussion stage to incorporate the views of organizations and groups like Mr. Coomson's Labour group and then AGI and other industry players? Because the suggestion from Mr. Coomson is that this will harm businesses. Did you make any efforts to make some of these voices represented at committee level?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, the people that you are making the laws for say to you that these laws you are making are basically going to hurt us, going to hurt our business. We had a petition from the likes of the Ghana Federation of Labour. We had GUTA objecting to this. We had AGI asking for further and better particulars. And, all went to zero. The government, as usual, was not ready to listen. So you are making laws, or you're making tax laws for people who the taxes are going to hurt, but you are not ready to sit down and talk, with them. You are not ready to listen to their concerns, and you do what you like. And this is the type of government that we have in Ghana today. I mean, I am not quite sure how they look at things, basically, because you are looking at all these taxes, that is the income tax, the excise, and the growth and stability, all put together, will generate 4 billion, according to them, a year. Then you ask yourself, from last year to this year, you have actually your expenditure by over 80 billion. This 4 billion you are asking for is just a drop in the ocean, because 4 billion of 80 billion or over 80 billion is just about 5%. It doesn't actually solve your problem, but you are rather going to sort of inflict challenges to the very people that grow this country. If you want to move from taxation to production, the very people who will give you the production is the AGIs, the Ghana Federation of Labour, and to an extent GUTA. So I'm not quite sure whether the policy has changed in terms of taxation to production, but it looks as if they are doing a reverse of what they told us. And my brother Alfred talks about, Mr. Coomson not using words like lie and all that to us. That is basically what this government has done to us, pretty much on everything. We won't go to the IMF today, tomorrow. We are a proud nation, a shining star. Where we ended up in the IMF? So we are not going to get a haircut. What's happened to this debt, domestic debt restructuring? So pretty much everything this government says, you cannot actually, believe the government. Yeah. And that my concern is that they also tell us that this is a condition precedent, obviously, for us to get onto the IMF program. Obviously, we have missed the IMF window, and possibly the next one will be around June. I have said time and time again that the economic challenges that we are facing are not ones that you can tax yourself out of. If you want to grow an economy from the COVID and all that we have come from, then you need a different approach. If you spend more money during 2020, 2021 on COVID, it's understandable. If your expenditure ballooned at that time, it's understandable. One would expect that as you go forward, the expenditure side of things will begin to go down as we try to enhance revenue. Nobody is against enhancing revenue especially tax revenue, in reasonable areas. But one would also expect that you rationalize your expenditure, and that is to cut your expenditure. At the end of the day, what we're looking for is fiscal consolidation for us to be able to reduce our deficit, which in the end ends up, as our debt. And this government is not doing none of this. It's just doing cosmetic adjustment that doesn't make any change, but then continues to go back to tax the very people who are being overtaxed, who are having a higher cost of living, who are trying to make ends meet. And in the end, the very people we have working to do, some might end up losing their job to add to the unemployment situation that we have. In the times that we are in, you think the government will be sensitive. Nobody is saying don't tax, but you think the government will be sensitive to say that, look, you know what? We have expanded our expenditure by 80 billion. Yet we want to go back to the very suffering Ghanaians to ask them for 4 billion. Can we sensibly hold on that and probably look at how we can reduce our expenditure? Cut down on the number of appointees and all that, cut down on unnecessary projects and all that, at least for this year and possibly next year. And
but
then
Mr. Honorable Hagan, you had an opportunity on keeping government in check, which is one of the things that a vibrant opposition is supposed to do, to ensure that that budget is reduced by ensuring also that the ministers did not go through Parliament. So there is a lot of responsibility that is being placed on you as well to help keep this government in check. And so when you try to shift all the blame on the government side, is there some that you assume as your own failings? You are saying that all 136 voted against this, but it still went through. When it came to voting for the approval of the ministerial nominees, there are those on your side who made it possible for those nominations to go through. And so is there any part that you accept the responsibility for? And I'll follow up by asking another question. Is there anything about these 3 new taxes that the minority side agrees with? Or do you disagree with every one of them in their entirety?
Well, first of all, I think I have been on record having spoken about what happened when we were voting on the nominees, that as minority, we failed Ghanaians in trying to at least register our 136 to say that we're against it. All sorts of things happened that I don't have any interest in repeating them, but basically we failed at that one. Previously, the other things we're talking about, budgets and all that, I'm sure you have heard the minority. We tried everything to stop some of these increases and all that, the appropriation and all that. And again, due to numerical strength, we were not able to, carry the day. So it is not like we have not made an effort. But at the end of the day, it's a government that is in the driving seat. So if the government in the driving seat is not a listening one, there's very little that the mate of the driver can do if the driver is running us into a ditch. And the ditch is shouting that, look, can you actually hold put your foot on the brakes or whatever? If the driver doesn't listen, there is very much the mate, can actually. So it is not a matter of shifting blame. The blame sits squarely on the government, who is responsible for policies, responsible for implementation of those policies, and is responsible for being truthful with Ghanaians. But if you have a government that basically want to tell you what they think they should tell you and do what they like and tell you that if you don't like it, wait till election time and vote them out, then you have an irresponsible government that it doesn't matter how much effort you put in as an opposition. At the end of the day, when you have a government that is very much interested in reckless and wasteful expenditure, it is very difficult to stop them. But sometimes it's always like democracy, where obviously you have a government that is not a listening one and telling you that they were voted by the people, and for that matter, you have to wait for the people to vote them out, and that is the situation, the sad situation that we are in. But yes, as opposition, we have failed in some areas, just like the 2 weeks ago, Friday, 2 Fridays away, we were not able to halt. We had the tool, and I think at that time we had the numbers to be able to at least get the president to listen. We were not against the ministers who were being appointed. We were voting on principle that the government size is too big, too large. We have been told by the IMF, we've been told by the Paris Club. Remember German ambassador, talking about they having a lean government, having to provide for us, who are still sort of telling people to tighten their belt, but they have opened up theirs to be able to take.
Honorable, is there any part of this that you find commendable, of any of the 3 bills that have gone through Parliament? Is there any good that you see in all 3 of them?
It's not for me. It is not about the bills themselves. It's about timing. The issue is the timing. I mean, I've worked at the Ministry of Finance before. I understand, they need to be able to, raise money, through taxes. That is the main source of revenue, is tax revenue, together with the others that you get, non-tax and donor money and all that. So I understand the importance of it. I'm talking about timing and the way things are being done, that you cannot expand your expenditure by 80 billion and be asking people for further taxes of 4 billion. It just doesn't make sense. If you cut, even if it's a condition precedent, if you cut your expenditure by 4 billion, you would have achieved the same thing. If you don't put up your revenue up by 4 billion, which will bring you the money, you can cut your expenditure, the 80 billion you have added, you can cut 4 billion off it. And the net result will be the same. Your deficit that will register.
Because Alfred is here, let's give him an opportunity to perhaps respond to some of the things that you've raised at the table with us this morning. The Honorable Cricket Hagan has been speaking to us on our Zoom platform. Alfred, the argument on the other side, you've heard clearly, if you cut expenditure and if you remove some of the excesses from the government spending sheet, we could very well achieve same, if not more, of the targets that we've set for ourselves.
You see, when you listen to what he's saying, it straight away tells you this is politics of hypocrisy.
How, in what way?
I thought he would say that, okay, whilst you are telling government to cut down on expenditure, let's also cut down as MPs. Let us ask that, let us reduce the size of MPs. Let us reduce the benefits they are getting. Government at the moment, we've reduced the payment of most of the CEOs, the ministers and everything by about 30%. It's been reduced.
How much has that saved us?
Oh, last time they released the figures. I'll get the figures for you. But it's come down drastically. And it tells you that government is putting in an effort. Look at the MPs that were approved recently. Out of the, 6 or so of them, it's only 1 that wasn't a member of parliament. All the rest are members of parliament. That is a savings on the public purse. Because whether you like it or not, as a member of parliament, you'll be paid. So at this point, we need more hands to come and make sure that we work well to deliver. You tell me that, reduce, when the people that are being taken on are members of parliament who are paid, whether they are in parliament or out of parliament.
But do you appreciate the fact that these taxes will invariably lead to increase in the cost of prices on the open market? We're talking mineral water, beverages, and children take snacks to school. We are all drinking water. Production costs go up. Prices on the market also up.
You see, when you look at the tax itself and what it's supposed to do, these taxes are targeted taxes. It's not an open-end tax on everything. But when you look at it, like I gave you the sustainability one, it tells you straight away, you are looking at the upstreams of the, it's levy imposed on taxes profit before tax. So it's your profit that you are going to tax.
But you have to make the sale
but
first
it's on companies and institutions and on productions in the cases of mining and upstream oil and gas. That's for the, growth and sustainability. Now, when you look at the taxes on tobacco and other products, that is the excise tax, it targets the tobaccos, the things that also pose health hazards to our citizens. So those who want to do that, okay, let's tax you more to be able to make sure that we get our ambulances right, we get our hospitals right, we get our things in place to help those citizens that when you put the pollution into the air, it would affect them. It's also a way, and it's a way of also trying to curb the importation of all those things. So it's not as if we just woke up one day and said, listen, let's do this. And this bill has been on the table for some time now.
Since 2021.
Yes,
but
and contributions have come in and out of it. There have been changes in and out every now and then till the last day that it was passed.
The MP also mentioned the condition precedent, which is the IMF debate, isn't it? So all this is to make sure that we are in enough of a good place that we would likely get a deal with the
Why
IMF.
are we going to IMF? To better our economy. The basic thing and the most important thing is to make sure that your economy is strong. That is the main thing that we are doing. Whether IMF or out of IMF, the most important thing is to make sure that you have a sound economy where you can trade and do business with most people and where your citizens can also enjoy life. And that is what we are doing. That is the basic thing that we want to do for everyone. So it's either, you see, the Fantis have something, and Ricketts knows that they say, chenche soso, anasoso, or cheche. Either you suffer a little bit more to gain the good part that you want to do, or you gain the good part and the economy collapses.
Ricketts and his people believe strongly that the difficulties that we face are of your making.
It's not of the making that has been on all over decades. I don't believe that we just came in yesterday and we started borrowing. It's something that had been ongoing. But you realize that when we came in, we are trying to see how we can do a better trade, the deals that you don't need to borrow, but you need to, you can transform your natural resources into finished products where you use it to offset most of these debts.
Could we have raised 4 billion annually in some other way? Because this is coming at a time when even the road tolls are also being considered, an upward adjustment about to happen.
That is where I expect
tariffs.
That is
where,
that is where I expect the opposition to be responsible. That, okay, you want to raise 4 billion. This is the other way you can raise, as we did when we were in opposition.
They are asking you to cut your expenditure. Is that a way?
Show me which expenditure they want us to cut. Let's cut down on the MPs. It's an expenditure, government expenditure. Let's tell them that, listen, okay, MPs, we've decided that we want to reduce to 175 instead of the 275. So 100 should go off. Cape Coast North and South, we can merge it. Let's go for an election now and then merge it and get 1 MP. It cuts down on your expenditure. These are things they should bring out, and we'll do them. So that's why I said it's a politics of hypocrisy.
Mr.
Let us not try and dress things as if
asking the president to hold his green pen and not sign those
it's like
bills
telling the
into
president
law.
It's like telling the president that let the economy run to a halt.
4 billion, the lack of 4 billion would make the economy grind to a halt.
He made mention of the e-levy. And what people forget,
which we were assured that once we came on board,
I want to talk about.
We will not have the
what
IMF
we forget is that there are timelines to everything. The more you delay, it's like dressing a wound. When you leave your wound and say that, I'll dress it next month, by the time you come, it will be bigger. Once it goes bigger, it means that you need more things to make sure that your wound goes off or it heals. When we asked for the e-levy to be passed, it took them over 3 months, join and going back and forth for this to be passed. You create a bigger hole. You create more problems. You create more issues. Before the e-levy, we stated categorically that we are not going to go to IMF.
Yet
we stated because we knew what we were standing on. We knew what we could have done. But you see, they started brainwashing people. Oh, don't do it, because they have stated, and they stated over and over again, that let's make this economy ungovernable so that we can come back to power. And it worries me when Mr. Kumsin and the rest are not reading behind or reading between the lines to see that this is an opposition who all they want to do is to come back to power, but not to address the problems the country is facing. And that is where we have a problem. Because when you have an opposition that is being very irresponsible, that thinks about just let us mess the economy up, let us mess the economy so that they can come.
But
and when they come and the economy cannot run,
Alfred,
what can you do? Because they are already in power.
When we make this a party in power and an opposition conversation, we quickly lose sight of the fact that the impact is on all of us. And the impact is Mr. Kumsin and the other partners that he mentioned, AGI, Guta, by extension, the
every
consumer.
single Ghanaian out there.
So it's not
impacted.
A them and us campaign, as you say. Oh, they told people, they brainwashed.
But that is what they were doing.
But the effect everything is on all of us.
Thelma, when I keep on saying, like what one of their ministers said, that when you see red, just state it's white, and state it over and over and over again, people will believe it's white. When you keep on going on and telling people that, listen, the impact of the e-levy it will worry you, so don't do transfers, and then transfers reduce, and the amount that you were expecting you don't get, what happens? Now you have to look for other means, isn't it?
And that's
so
what,
now
and
you
that's
create,
what you're doing.
You create a hole. And that is why I said that when you become an irresponsible opposition, because when you're in opposition, what they want you to do is to show maturity, show that yes, we are doing our checks and balances all right, but we are adding on. Because what we have to do first is about the economy. It's about how to make sure that the country stands. It's about how to make sure that we don't go bad as a country. It's about how to sell the good name of this country. And every little thing that we do, if we don't look at the country first, then we are in opposition. We are killing the country. We are killing the economy. We are killing things. And that is what is going on. We all have to come to the table and make sure that this thing works. So that one day when you come back into power, what you can do is to continue the good works that have been rolled out. That is what we expect you to do. Bring up alternatives that could help raise revenue in this country. When what do you call it? The former finance minister before passed this is a sustainability bill and those things. We did not oppose it. He said that they needed it at that point in time. And after that, he became a deputy minister of finance.
But
he was there. He didn't say that.
Were the no votes almost at the same number as the yes votes? Because this is 136 MPs who voted against 137, a difference of one vote that carried the day. And
that is where I have a big problem, because they've shown that it's not a matter about the economy. It's a matter about their individual selves. Because when their own was going for a ministerial position, they were ready to support the person. But when you look at the economy and how we can grow the economy back to a standard where you and I will be okay in Ghana, they said, no, we don't want that one.
I mean, we'll talk about how the numbers even arrived at 137.
We don't want that one. You see, so it tells you straight away that it's a politics of hypocrisy by these people. And it's sad because it worries me. I get hurt when I look at them and see that they don't think about this country. They are not ready to serve this country. It's not about they going to sit in parliament and say that, listen, let us do this. Okay, government, you know what? Like what the question you asked them, is it everything that you oppose? Or you think some of these bills could help grow this economy? And the first thing I expect him to say, okay, look at this particular bill. Can we do this? Or tell government that, can we do this for maybe 2 years, 3 years, and cut it off? Then we all approve it. But no, they don't bring anything. They don't bring any suggestion online.
Mr. Koomson has heard both sides. And I'll go back to the Zoom platform very shortly to pick final thoughts from the Honorable Ricketts Hagan. But I want you to, if you have anything to respond to on the submissions that you've heard from the two gentlemen. Government is saying that, yes, a burden, but a needed one, and you should also assume your own responsibility. The NDC is saying they came out in their numbers and they voted all against the three bills, but their numbers were just not enough on the day. And so they felt like they played their part and they kept to their end of the bargain. How do you react?
Me, I'm worried about what Alfred is saying. You see, this government, they will never listen. They think they are always right. Look, even the German ambassador advised that cut back this your elephant-size government. He said it, and the president became offended, and through some he was attacking this man. Listen to advice a bit. Listen. Me, this government, I've seen government, military government, even Nkrumah's government. Even though I was young, I saw Nkrumah's government and all the military guys who passed by Buzia's government, and Buzia too. The strategy he used is what is being used now. Buzia made Parliament to sit all night to pass a law to dissolve the TUC. Because at a point, he realized that the TUC was not cooperating with his government. He did that all night to dissolve the TUC. But what happened? Let's not go there. Maybe another forum will discuss. But see, what I'm saying is that some of us, we have experience. We've known a lot. So when we see some government behaving the way they are behaving, we feel very sad and we get scared.
Mr. Koomson, but I've also heard on the floor of Parliament arguments, for example, that this could even be healthy for us, because if the prices of some of these sugary items are going up, then the suggestion is less of them would be consumed, and if we are putting more taxes on tobacco, it will cut down on the number of people who smoke, and then help us in the areas of managing the effects of these sugary items and these tobacco products on our market.
Don't you take tea? When I came this morning, the dressing place, people were drinking tea. Do they drink raw? No sugar inside. Some people are saying that sugar will cause sickness.
Some do.
What sickness?
Can do it with honey.
If you are diabetic, it's another thing. See, all that we are asking for, or we wanted this government or the Parliament to do, was to have taken time to read even the recommendations made by AGI.
Let's hear some of them.
Considering the current situation, government should consider abandoning the proposed introduction of the excise tax on beverages, that the industry will not be able to take an additional tax burden. 2, the proposed 50% excise duty on spirit be imposed on imported spirits only to allow local industry to grow. 3, maintain the excise duty on malts, but exempt mineral water from the excise, as the beverage industries have been under pressure from the harsh business climate. 4, we therefore suggest that government collaborate with industry to conduct thorough regulatory impact assessment and baseline for any possible future interventions, and which interventions are most effective in generating revenue on a sustained basis, economic jobs, and maintaining optimal health. This is why I brought this thing to you. What prevents you from engaging them? You said, oh, don't mind them. Don't mind them. You go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do what you are doing.
Now that the bills have gone through Parliament, and the only thing left is for the President to... Mr. Koomson,
people lose their jobs.
What would be the next step? I know you talked about Guta having a press conference tomorrow, but where does your group go from here now that it appeared that, according to you, your concerns were not?
We will continue talking.
Listen.
That's why Guta, we will solidarize with them. We will do whatever we can to let them. We will continue talking. So if the president listens, it will be good for this country.
Right. Honorable Ketegan, if you are still with us, I'll take your final thoughts on this matter, and then I'll let Alfred also have a final word, and then we rise. Do you still stand by your position? Alfred is saying that you should also accept, for example, some cuts to the numbers, as we are seeing in Parliament, for example, which he says would also lead to a cut in government expenditure. Are there any suggestions that you have made? And I wonder what your thoughts are on what Mr. Koomson also said.
First of all, we have a government that actually haven't got a clue of what they are doing. Yet, they are not ready to listen to anyone. And then they ask for suggestions. So, it's a very, very, contradictory type of, management of the economy. AGI, Guta, and all those who petitioned them came up with alternatives. I think Mr. Koomson had read some of them on your program. That the things that they suggested to government, did they listen? No. They went ahead and did what they want to do. And that is basically, and then after this, sitting there talking about, merging constituencies and all that. What happened to the Ministry of Communication and Information? What happened to merging agriculture, the Ministry of Agric and Fisheries? What happened to merging sanitation with the what's it called, the other ministries? What happened to cutting down on the 1,000 people who work at the presidency? This cosmetic adjustment that you have done, we've taken vouchers off, we've done this, we've done that, is not enough. There is more that this government can do to cut down expenditure in the times that we are in. Times that we are in, that is what we are talking about. We are not talking about any suggestions being given to them. You are not Ghanaian enough. You are not patriotic enough. They are the ones who are right. People who are right, not knowing what they are doing, and incompetently increasing our debt, incompetently managing our economy. Even when it comes to restructuring of the debt itself, they are incompetent at doing it. They have put a hold on the external debt because they don't have a clue how to start it. They said the big elephant is China and they are chasing China. The Germans, whom you have asked to beg China for you, are telling you the size of our government is too big, and the president is having to go at the Germans, at the German ambassador, for suggesting that the size of this government is too much. Yet, they are the people you are asking them to beg China for you to forgive you your debt. Look, it's getting into a hopeless situation if it's not going beyond that already. And this government is going to continue. How do you justify increasing your expenditure by 80 billion from the previous year and be asking for 4 billion and say, this is what the IMF told you to do? The IMF will never tell you to do any such thing. They will tell you to do fiscal consolidation, yes, enhance your revenue. But when you are doing so, also look at your expenditure. If they were to do this term, alongside looking at serious expenditure cuts, one would have thought that that would even give a much bigger role. So, for instance, if they were increasing revenue by 4 billion and also cutting expenditure by 4 billion, that in net effect gives you 8 billion room. But when you are doing it on one side, which is hurting the very people who produce in this economy, who will give us the growth that you need, and not look at the other side and be talking about merging Cape Coast North and Cape Coast South and doing these things. When the low-hanging fruits of this president, having appointed friends and family to follow up the government, is not prepared to look at suggestions being given to the president, then it becomes a hopeless situation. They are not ready for advice. Yet they ask for it. They've been asking for advice, they are not ready to listen.
We appreciate your adding your voice to the conversation, Honorable.
And we are in a hopeless situation. And you know, God save us all.
Thank you. The Honorable Kweku George Ricketts-Hagan is the MP for Cape Coast South and the former Deputy Finance Minister. Thank you, sir, for making the time. Still at the table, I'll give Alfred Thompson the last word on this, and then we rise. So, a counter from your good friend, the MP.
Thank you, Thelma. First of all,
I'll give the last.
No, you've given yours.
Well,
why do you want to give the last and last again?
So Alfred speak, and perhaps I'll give you just a few seconds, Mr. Kumsin.
You want him to respond
very
again?
Few
when he said it was the last word.
It's only fair that we give all the voices.
When you look on the table, when you check on Saturday, 12th August 2017, the Auditor General states some Mahama appointees secretly took back their 10% pay cuts. Auditor General. You see, it's funny when I say politics of hypocrisy. He just talked about merging Ministry of Communication and Information. Honorable Esla Usu is an MP, isn't she? Honorable Information Kojo Oppong Nkrumah is an MP. Let's take the two of them aside and say that, okay, we are merging the ministry. All the workers there, we are not going to sack them. They are still going to work for the government. They will still receive government pay. The two of them who we have taken out as ministers and put only one person there will still receive their salary as MP. You see, in our time, we are not taking double salary like what they did, where MP was taking and we're going to take a minister's salary as well.
Let's bring this back to this particular matter and the suggestion that government is listening.
That he is saying. And I'll come to his suggestion that government is not listening. I'll respond to that. Now we take a Ministry of Fisheries and a Ministry of Agric. Honorable Hawa Kumsin, Honorable Brian Achampon, they are both MPs. You take both of them out and put one person there. The ministries will still work. The staff there, you cannot sack. So where have you cut down there? And both of them will receive their salaries. So let us not try and act as if we are so concerned and that, everything comes to a halt. Listen, the president, let's look at what he did. When Honorable Alan Chiamantin went out and Efie Ekoto, the agric minister, went, they are both not MPs, aren't they? They are not MPs, but he put MPs in place. That is a president that thinks and looks out for the people, because he's looking at the welfare. Why don't I use the MPs who they can serve and receive their salaries either as MP or minister and be there, so we don't spend more? And that is what he did. That is where you realize that he is cutting down, but he's doing it in a nice way that will help make sure that the economy comes back on track. Is government
listening, Alfred?
Now, Mr. Coulson said the government is not listening. So you asked him that, so what are they going to do going forward? If a government is not listening, why are you saying that you are going to continue deliberating and talking to them? If you say the government is not listening, why are you going to talk to them? Let us not behave this way.
Okay, Mr. Coulson,
let us know
I'll give you 20 seconds.
Everything that the government is doing it in the interest for the people. Sometimes I remember a situation about this taking off of a levy at the ports, where AGI and Guta were in disagreement. Government had to take a decision.
Be wrapping it.
You see, so it tells you that sometimes you, as a government, you get into a fix where you either satisfy AGI and forget about Guta, or you satisfy Guta and forget about AGI. But you have to take a decision. The best interest of the nation.
Mr. Coulson, 20
that's
seconds.
What we'll do for the people.
You see, sometimes I'll blame the speaker too, but maybe another time we'll discuss that issue. You see, if we are all suffering, there is no money for the household. You, the father, who is a breadwinner, you say we should eat once a day. Then you, after work, you go to Kempinski. You go and sit there and booze and drink.
Mr. Abraham Coulson, General Secretary of the Ghana Federation of Labour, thank you so much for adding your voice to this conversation. Alfred Thompson is a member of the NPP National Communications team. In the coming days, we'll be learning a bit more about the 3 revenue bills that have just gone through Parliament, and the conversations will no doubt end at this table. And when we are able, we'll bring further voices to add to this chat. This is Breakfast on GTV. We are getting ready to have breakfast with a young woman who is doing incredible things in the world of literature. 9-year-old author. If you've been thinking of writing a book and you haven't already, well, today, perhaps, you will be inspired. That comes up after the break. See you.